While other AI art tools will leave you tweaking your prompts endlessly, Midjourney gives you advanced techniques that will give you real control over image generation. I'll start you off with the basics and then move over to the hidden techniques that will give you an edge. Now in the Explore page, you can find the works created by other people, either for inspiration, for references, and other stuff. So once we scroll down, you can see all the different styles created by Midjourney. And I could easily start liking these and making collections that I can later use to generate my own images. So say I really like this, I can just hover over it, click the heart, and now it goes in my likes page. So these are the images I liked. If I don't like them anymore, I could just click again on the heart and it just disappears. So let's go back here. And we do have some options at the top. Right now I'm on random, which is basically Midjourney creating a feed for me based on random images it's selected. But if I want to see something really popular images, which a lot of people liked, I would go to the hot tab. If I want to see what's really popular today, top day, top week, and top month. And then of course my likes panel. Now what can you do with these images? Not only can you look at them, but if you go over each one and click on them, you can see the prompt that they use to generate this image. So that is the prompt right here. Clicking once on this puts it in my prompt bar, allowing me to create something similar with the exact words. Of course I can change this. So say I want to do, instead of a man, I want to do a woman. And let's add a few different stuff between the dark blue background and all of that. So I'm just going to hit enter and you can see it said submitted. Now I have a 0 out of 1 in my create tab. We'll go over there in a second, but while that's generating, I do want to show you a bunch of other stuff that you can do. So below the prompt, we have some keywords which may seem unfamiliar to you. These are what's called parameters in Midjourney. We're going to look at those later, but essentially you're letting Midjourney know that you want it to be either a specific aspect ratio, you want it to have a different style, you want the images to be very different from each other, and so on forth. It's really easy to use them. You can either use this bar up here in the slider format, or you could type it in the prompt. I'll show you all about that later. Below that, you can use this image in your prompt as a reference. So you can use the entire image as a reference, the style of the image, and the prompt or the prompt that was used to generate this image. You can use multiple of these. So say you want it to look, your new character to look exactly like this character, and you want the background or the style to be the same. So the way you would use it in the style is, let's click away. Just click and drag it up here. So this right here is the image prompt, that's the style, and that is the character. So say I wanted to use a style for this. I'm going to click on this clip right here. And now I'm just going to type in something very simple. Let's go with a woman. So just really simple, hit enter, it's going to generate it. Now I have 1 out of 2 because I'm generating 2 images. Another way to bring this onto the prompt bar is going down here where we have the person who made this image. We have the reference. You can get the prompt by clicking on this T. You can hit this button to get others like this image, and then you can like it. So I'm just going to click on this to show you what that does. And now we get rather similar styles, not exactly the same, but this just shows that these images were generated with a similar prompt and set of keywords. So let's see, okay, top month, you click on this, brings it up here. And if you click on this, it brings it here. So there are different ways to bring your references in the prompt bar. And then once you're done, you can either lock this so that you don't change it, or just delete it and start over. Let's delete this as well. You can search here for something specific. Let's say I'm really into orange art at the moment. Type in orange, you get all sorts of orange art. And that's really it, the stuff that you can do in Midjourney for the Explore page. So The Create tab is where you generate your images. So these are the two things that we kept earlier. This is with the prompt of that reference image. You can see that I don't have the reference down here. And I just changed man into woman. This is what I got. Quite different, but you can see just how detailed this is. So there's some other stuff. And as I go through each one, you can see that the prompt does not change. Now for the one where I use the original image as a reference, you can see that it's here. It looks pretty similar, not identical, but pretty similar. Now if I can combine the two, if I could click on this again, maybe go for something else, and then use one of my generations as reference. So I'm just going to click on this. I brought it up here. Now I'm going to click and drag one of the ones I made above, maybe a couple. So I'm going to do two. We have the first one. Let's put it on the character reference. I want my subject to look like her. And the second one, let's go with the style. So same prompt and everything. Let's hit enter and see what we're getting. And because I locked this, it didn't delete it. So let's unlock it and get rid of that. So you can generate as many images as you want. If for some reason you got a set that's just not up to your standards, you can just go down here and click on hide, and that's it. All right, so these are the new generations. As you can see, rather similar to the ones we made. Definitely does not have that cloak thing that we just hit, so that's good, but it's looking pretty good. So let me choose one that I like. I'm gonna go with this one. And I just want to take this a step further. Down here you can see, apart from the prompt and all the other stuff, we have some creation actions. So we have vary, which is when I ask Midjourney to give me different variations of this very image as like new generations. I can ask for it to be subtle, so it's going to closely follow this structure and give me just slightly different versions, or I could make it strong and have it be a little bit more bolder with the different versions. So let's click on subtle once and then another one on strong. So now again I have 0 out of 2. It's making the new generations here. While that's happening, let's look at upscale. So say the quality is good, it's all perfect, but I do want it to be, say, a little bit more crisp, a little bit more detailed. I can go for subtle, which is again when it's maintaining the structure of this original image, or I could let it get more creative. So it might add some extra lines, maybe some extra details, but that depends on which I choose. So let's go with subtle and creative. I'll show you guys what those look like. I'm still on the original image. The last one is me getting more images. I could rerun this prompt, which is going to be the exact same thing, but I will get different results. Or I could open this in the editor and use some of the tools to fine-tune the smaller parts and then have it rerun. For example, I will grab a paintbrush and just go over her eyes, have her eyes opened. So we're going to look at that later, but this is where you would start that. Now down here is use. It's similar to the reference that we looked at. We can use the image as a reference, the style, or the prompt. So that's all that you can do. Up here we have the like button, the search button, download if you wanted to download this. And then here you can copy it, prompt, job ID, seed, image URL, unpublish it, download it, hide it, open in Discord, which by the way has the original Midjourney on it. I will be focusing more on the website for this tutorial, but if you've used Midjourney before, you're probably more familiar with the Discord. So you can open this on the Discord and go about changing it there. All right, now let's look at my creations. You can see instead of 0 out of 4, it's 4, so they're ready. And let's see, so this is my variation with subtle. So you can see how it maintained that pose, but it just looks slightly different. That was subtle. Let's go with, which one's strong? This is strong, so her pose is different. She's looking different ways. We've got some close-ups and all that. Next we have upscale subtle. So again, same pose and everything. And then we have creative. It opened the character's eyes without me asking it to. So highly detailed, a little bit different. Okay, so now I have a bunch of creations to work with, and Before I get into how to take this a step further, let's take a look at how we can organize our work. So that goes all the way down here in the Organize tab. You can see all the stuff we made. All right, below, I can filter through them. So let's actually start from the beginning. So these are the stuff I made today. There's some I made yesterday and so on and forth. I can make folders to organize my stuff. So let's go over here, create folder, say human subjects. And there is an option for smart folders, so it's going to detect what I'm looking for this folder and just automatically put that in, which I think is great. So search terms, let's go with women. Let's go with female subjects then. Women, separated with commas. Let's go with, like I only want the hyper-realistic ones. And perhaps, let's see, maybe just these two to begin. Let's create the folder and go inside. And you can see that it only took the ones I made today and some I made before. So that looks good. The 3 dots allows me to go back in, maybe add a new term, delete the folder, save it after I've made my changes, and all that. Next, we have profiles. Now, whenever you unlock personalization, which is after you've rated 40 images on Midjourney, I'll show you where you can do that, you're going to have a profile. So now whatever I generate, unless I hide it, is going to show up on the Explore page for other people to see. So that means people can use my photos as reference and all that stuff. If for some reason you do not want your images used by anyone, just hide them from your global profile. So if you press on this, these are what's available on my profile. None of them, because I didn't publicize any of them. Any of my images to be public. Go in options and unpublish. So if you're doing something private, or maybe you're using a real image of, say, your mom, you don't want people using that, just unpublish it, hide it, and no one else will have access to it. Next, we have filters. So these are the type of changes we made to some of the images. For example, the liked images, unrated ones, hidden ones. So we hid these 4 images in the beginning. Now, when I turn this on, they show up here. If I liked anything, which I didn't, they will show up here. So let me just like this, for example. Get out of here and go to liked. Unrated is all my images. These are the ones that I didn't like and didn't hide. We have types, we have grids, the ones we upscaled, which we did a lot with. You can change it based on the aspect ratio, so the ones that you had with squares, landscapes, portraits, etc. The different versions of Midjourney you used, I believe mine are all 6, so the latest version. And then we have published and unpublished. So these are the ones I unpublished. And we have some tiled and raw. I'll get into what those are later. Now in the view options, which is the last tab, we have the layout for you to look at this. So for example, you want all the images to show up as a square, or you want their full size shown to you from this feed. Now the image size, you can go about it however you like, and that's about it with the Organize tab. There is a plus button over here, which is going to let you select it all. So once you have all selected, you can download all of them, go to more, publish them, unpublish them, add them to a folder, hide, unlike, and like. So pretty handy stuff if you're working with Midjourney a lot. You have a lot of images. Maybe you're working on a team thing, so you can label them as you go. All right, next we have chat. Now this is a pretty cool thing that Midjourney has. Essentially, it did start from Discord, so I like that they brought that aspect onto their website as well. So you can see in real time, people are generating stuff and putting them here for perhaps feedback, suggestions, and all that stuff. Right over here, they have community where you can ask questions like, hey, how do I get my images to look sci-fi or something? There are tons of people on here, so you'll definitely get an answer soon. You can see the layout is similar to Discord as well. You can add a reaction, reply, flag for some reason, and just chat with other people like you. There's also a voice chat, similar to Discord. And from the time that I've been talking, there were 3 generations here. I could see the prompt they used, I could rerun it with their prompts, I could use their prompts, or reply with, wow, this looks great, or something else. Download it, copy, reply, and all of that. Now down here is where I get to generate, just like these people, and I could join in on the conversation. Now below the chat, we have general chaos, which is just people generating all sorts of stuff really and sharing it with people. Now prompt craft is where people are trying different prompts, and you can see how the generations are pretty similar, so they're using certain settings to just see what prompt gets them to their desired results. Some of them are using seeds. I'll get into seeds later, so that's pretty cool. Daily theme, I believe it's like you follow a certain theme, so I'm guessing today's theme is fire walking. So test out your skills, see what you can generate with this theme, and get some feedback and exposure. Lastly is newbies, which if you start Midjourney, you would want to come here, get some experience, learn from others, and get better at generating images. So that's the chat feature. It's pretty cool. Then we have the task. Now, the more you help Midjourney train their stuff by ranking images, you do get some perks for it. So perhaps you get faster generations, you get more points if you're working with the points. So you can either curate community front pages, and then you can see this is the perk, earn fast hours. You can rate the aesthetics and browse Niji picks. So if you just go on each one, you can see that after doing 200 of these, I will unlock the profile. And the more profiles you have, the higher ranking user you are. You can also skip, so whichever I like better, I'm just gonna click, and just go on about that. All right, we have some surveys and of course the community. Now, the one that I mentioned that you would want to work through to get that public profile is in the Personalize tab. So when you first start Midjourney, it's going to be locked. So mine is just off at the moment. And then once you rate 40 images according to what you like, so it's just completely based on your preferences, it will unlock personalization for you. Now, what is personalization? When you're generating stuff, there are certain things that you look for as a creator. Say, I personally prefer really detailed and hyper-realistic generations. Midjourney, when I turn this on, it's going to recognize that and only give me hyper-realistic results when I put in any prompt. So it's going to stay away from, say, cartoonish stuff and give me things that I really want. If I don't want for Midjourney to recognize my patterns, I could just turn it off as it is right now and just go with any sort of style. So this is pretty helpful if you're trying to stay within one style. If you turn it on, it's really easy. You can create mood boards too, and there is my global profile that I mentioned. So I can see the creations, copy code if I want to share it with other people, and I could also make standard profile. So I could have different profiles for different reasons, but I just want to show you what it looks like when you have to do 40 to unlock. So whichever you prefer, you click on it and it's going to recognize your patterns. So you can see it's giving me more human subjects, which is what I'm going for. If I go for the more detailed ones, it's going to give me more detailed ones and all of that. So after 13 images, it stopped giving me non-human subjects, just subjects in general, and that's the pattern that it's going to recognize. Okay, we're back in the Create tab, which is where we were originally. And now I want to go into adding how to go about writing prompts. So let's start with something very simple. Gonna go with, say, a dolphin. Hit enter. It's going to use Midjourney's default style to get this going. So there is my dolphin. You can see it's giving me different styles to begin with. We have this guy, and something more real. So we have a very simple prompt right now, a dolphin. Now let's make it into a crazy prompt. So a dolphin, let's write a vintage dolphin in a suit, filing taxes in an apartment in New York City. Let's see, comma. He is smoking a pipe and has a hat on. So now we're getting more specific. I'm gonna let this run. While that's running, let's try to use some of the parameters. So I'm gonna click once on this to get the same prompt, go over here and we have some options. First one is image size. You can make it into a portrait, landscape, or use the slider to go for a specific thing. You can also click on this number and go for a very interesting aspect ratio. So I'm going to go with a landscape for this example. We have the models, we have the standard model, and then we have raw. So think of it in terms of photography. With raw photography, you're capturing in more details, and then that's good if you want to really build up on that prompt. With anything like this, the one that I'm doing right now with dolphins, filing taxes, you can go with a standard mode. But if you want to do a really close-up shot of a subject, a human subject, you can use raw because you're trying to get more of that detail, the wrinkles on the face, the pores, and all of that stuff. Then we have versions. These are the different versions of Midjourney. Try to use the ones that are recent. They're better, but if you wanted to try out the older ones, feel free to do so. Now Niji is more of like a anime style, more of like a drawing thing. So if you want to create cartoonish stuff, try to use the Niji things right here. You can see we have Niji 6, which matches the 6th version of Midjourney. I'm going to stick with the latest one. And there is the personalized thing that we mentioned. So if I want Midjourney to study my patterns as I'm going about this prompt, I could turn it on or turn it off. When you turn it on, we have some options. We have the 2 profiles, so you can put it into either one of these profiles. Now, why do you need multiple profiles? If, for example, at some point you want to experiment with really hyper-realistic images, you can save, say, your global profile for that purpose. If you want to be generating anime stuff a lot, you can dedicate one separate profile for that. So you can leave this studying technique for Midjourney based on the 2 styles or 3 styles, however many styles you want to pursue. So one profile for realistic stuff, one profile for cartoonish stuff, and so on forth. Just going to turn it off at the moment. And these are the parameters that we were talking about earlier. So this here is aspect ratio, which would be short for AR. And I'm going to show you how you can put that into the prompt bar and not have to come to these sliders. So that's AR. And then we have the aesthetics, starts with stylization. Now this is the style that Midjourney will go through. The default is 100, but you can obviously change that to get more styles on there. So you can see here influences how strongly the Midjourney aesthetics is applied. By now you should have an idea of what the Midjourney aesthetics are. Highly detailed, and they're less cartoonish usually, but if you wanted to get out of that comfort zone, just play around with this. I'm going to show you how each of them impact your generations later, so don't worry if it doesn't make that much sense. I'm going to hit reset. Weirdness is how different and quirky, as the box says, your generations are. So by default it's on 0, but you can go all the way to 3000, and it's going to get more creative with how you design this. So for example, if I have it at 0, it's going to follow my prompt, a dolphin filing taxes. But if I put it at 3000, it might put that dolphin filing taxes in, say, a cyberpunk universe. So it might do that. And then variety, or just chaos, is when you have different creations. So you can see when I generate a prompt, I'm getting 4 different images, but they relatively look the same. If I want them to look completely different, I would have to ask for more variations. So I would just move this slider all the way up, or if I want them to be close to each other, bring it all the way down. Next we have speed, how fast or how slow you want this to go. The slower it is, the more time it can put into your generations. The faster it is, it's going to give you less detail. You could of course add on to that with upscaling and all of that stuff, but by default it's going to be on fast. And then we have the stealth. So if you don't want it to be visible to other people, which I have off at the moment since we're experimenting, you can turn that off. Alright, so let's look at our dolphin. So you can see by adding more details, I have this vintage, it's looking at the key term vintage here, image of my dolphin. It is following that New York apartment. You can see photos of dolphins, but they are rather imperfect. So I'm really liking this one. I'm going to click on this again and click and drag this as my reference because I want it to look like this. I'm going to put this on the middle one, which is the style reference, And since I want the same dolphin, I can hold down Shift and click on the character. So now it's looking at the subject, the character, and the style. All right, so we have that. Let's go ahead and start with chaos. Chaos is by default on 10, but to bring that up, I can do C for chaos, dash dash, let's go for 1,000. And then for weird, I want it to be more quirky, W dash dash, let's actually start from the smaller one, so 10 for each. So chaos, weird, let's do style as well. I'm gonna go with 10. And the aspect ratio, let's go AR dash dash 16 to 9. And hit enter. Now while that's happening, let's click on it again and just pump up the number. So let's go for 100 on each one except aspect ratio. And then the last one, we're just gonna go all the way to 1,000. So this right here is with 10 for all of those parameters, and it's looking pretty good. So you can see that they're not that different. They all have that dolphin, but they are getting a little bit more quirky. The second one, we went up to 100. So just without me clicking on it, you can see how there is more variation between these. All right, if I go in them, they're looking different. So these ones look really different, and then we have like a cartoonish version for the other two. The last one where we went to 1,000, you can see how creative it got with our dolphin. And just looking at it from afar, these guys are in completely different environments. Now I'm gonna do one last one. Just click on this. I'm gonna delete these ones and just go all the way up. So 3,000, 1,000, and 100. And I'm gonna go with, let's go with landscape. I'm gonna go with 16 by 9. Hit enter. So you can see the boxes got way bigger. And let's look at the extreme version of our dolphin. All right, so looking really crazy. This guy looks like a lizard, actually, not a dolphin. So this is our first one. Second one, we have a female here. I did not specify anything. Here we have, looks like it's a weird dolphin. And then lastly, we have this elegant looking vintage dolphin. So you can see how these parameters really change up your images. And we started from this. So by adding to your prompts and adding to those parameters, you can just really generate anything. So I'm really liking this one. So I'm going to use the same upscaling techniques. So let me hit creative, which is going to be, as we said, adding in more elements. Unlike the subtle one, let's go with the strong variations and click away. So there are my dolphins. This is with the variation. So you can see how it added a few things. The background is different. This is when we used very strong. This one looks really good. And I'm gonna like it for later. Close this. This is our upscale with, I believe, creative chosen. And there we go. So it added a few stuff here. It's not quite catching the pipe. I'm not sure what's going on here, but you can see the pipe, the head of it is down here. That's something we can change with the editor. So it's looking pretty good. We got a interesting dolphin. You can use keywords from other industries into your prompting. For example, if you're an artist, you're using some oil painting technique, there's a word for it, you can use that word in here to get that similar result. With photography, you can do so many things. You can use terms like low light, double exposure, macro shots, and all of that, and it's going to understand what you're asking it to do. So let's do, like right here, you can see the double exposure. I didn't use the term yet, but it just went for it. When I click the prompt, I can add in double exposure, photography technique, run that again with the default settings. We're going to get more of that technique introduced into the prompt. While that's running, we can go down to our older stuff, and I've used the term silver point here. to get this type of futuristic shiny look on my cyborg. Here is without that key term, so you can see the slight difference. And you can find more of these key terms on the internet. The chat is a great place to find it. When people find new keywords, they're going to announce it. You can ask for it, maybe upload an image you would want to use as a reference and ask people what kind of keyword would be good for that prompt. There are also a lot of cheat sheets online, so do your research in that category you want. If you're going to do paintings, you want specific keywords, search for Midjourney keywords for oil painting. All right, and there is my double exposure photography stuff. So I added in raw. Notice how it literally looks like I took two images and I kept them on top of each other, and this one looks the best. It looks pretty good. So use those keywords, try to get as specific as possible with your prompts. Now, what if you want to give more context to your generations? You wanted to follow the specific style from Midjourney's database. So Midjourney has so many seeds. We mentioned seeds briefly before. And a seed is how that composition is structured. So you can copy that seed, put it in your prompt, and have Midjourney keep that composition from the seed, but give you different results. So the way you can get those seeds is either copy it from the Explore page or the chat box. We went over a few where they had seeds. Let me see if I can find one. There we go. So this number, sref whatever, that is a seed. When I click on it once, it shows up in my prompt. And now if I want something similar to this composition, I just need to put that seed, and let's put in a hippo instead. Always put your prompt before the parameter. Hit submit, and I should be getting something similar to that composition. So there is my hippo. You can see it followed that grainy, cartoonish style. The influence is not that high. That's something we need to change. So you can basically decide how much that style weighs on to your new generation. I'm just gonna click hippo, put that reference and the aspect ratio. Let's go over here and put in SW for style weight. You can put in between 0 to 1,000. Let's put 1,000. I want the exact same thing. And just to make this even more precise, I'm going to click and drag this here and use the style and the character. So hold down shift, both of them. Another parameter that I'm going to use is the image weight. So how much influence do I want this image to have? IW -- and we're going to go between, again, 0 to 1,000. So I'm going to go all out. So since those should be URLs, those are the stuff I added. Let that run, and then we can see what that looks like. So there is my hippo. You can see that it exactly has that same glasses. I'm going to try opening. There we go. So the green lenses, the sweater, try to do that. And if, say, I want to use the same generation and get a pink sweater, I could just upload that in there, drag it in there, and change the prompt. But you can see how it followed that exact structure. Now, what if you don't have this code? You don't have that seed number and you're just trying to get some different styles. You can ask Midjourney to give you random seeds that it will grab from its database. And to find which seed you want, of course, you're not gonna know which ones to your preference. You can use the repeat function for it to grab 15 or whatever number you want, different seeds randomly for you. So let's put in -- sref seed reference random. If I do this once, and let me actually put in a prompt, let's run that. It gave me that code, so it gave me this one right here. Now I'm gonna see what this looks like, but I do want to see more options after this. So let me just show you what this looks like with this particular seed. So a pretty creative style right here. It's grainy, it's faded, and it looks pretty cool. Now let's put in this prompt. So I'm just going to click on it, -- sref random, but we want this repeated. Just repeat 5 times. So 5 random seeds. Click enter. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 times. 5 different seeds. Let's see what it looks. The prompt is the exact same. Now, finding the right seed, it's going to be difficult. There are a lot of resources online where they've fine-tuned the seeds. They've found some good ones and they've kept it on there for you to use. There are paid and free resources. Some people post them on X. There's also Midjourney forums, so make sure you just go over there, find the seeds that you like, save them onto your organized tab, and combine them for some pretty cool results. So this is the first style, the seed, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So very diverse. And if I like one of them, I could just click on it again. Let me put my prompt there and just go about adding onto this. So we can change the weight of this. Let me add a different style. I want to combine, say, this one. Drag this on there, put it on style, put dash dash style weight. Let's go with 500 maybe. And while I'm here, I'm going to, let's actually run this once and go about combining more of these seeds. So this is one way to do it. You can just grab the second style, put it onto the first prompt. Another way to do it is to click on your sref. Let's get the goblin. And this is already done. You can see how it followed that, but it has that mystical look from this collection. So if you want to combine 2 different seeds, paste the first one, and then we're going to hit space and put in the second seed. So this one's, let me actually try something different with this. So I clicked on this once and you can see the space in between. Let's hit enter, see what we get. So it's going to combine the 2. Now if I want one style to weigh more than the other, have more influence, I can do that with 2 columns. So while that's loading, let's hit goblin, put this in and this. You can see that's pretty cool. It does have that paint stroke style and has this guy happening. All right, so let's put colon. 265 is this guy. Okay, so I want this style to have less influence. I'm gonna put 1. I want this cartoonish one to have more influence. So colon, let's do 3. All right, so when I put 3 on the second one, what I'm telling Midjourney is that I want the second seed to be 3 times more influential than the first one. So those are what the numbers mean, 1 and 3. Let's hit enter and see what we get. If you're not sure how much influence you want that seed to have, you can try different variations by adding curly brackets to your prompt. So this is what it looks like. You can see that it has more of this than this. That's how the prompting works. Now what I'm going to do is, let's try a different one. Let's go with this anime looking one. A goblin, sref, and now instead of just doing 1 style weight, I'm going to do 5 different weights in one prompt. So let's go with dash dash style weight, and then I'm going to put curly brackets, and the parameter for each of the versions are different. Version 6, which is what we're on, is between 0 and 3. Version 5, which is the version before, 0 to 2. So I'm going to do one with 0.20, comma, 25, 0.30, comma, 2, comma, 1, comma, 0.10, and you can just go on with that. Each of these comma numbers are going to be a different set of images. So that's my style reference. Let's hit enter. You have to put a space between style weight and the curly brackets. And as you can see, it gave me 1 for each. So 0.1, 1, 2, 0.3, 0.25, and all of that. So this is the reference we used. Let's see what that looks like. So this is 0.25, looks that way. 0.30 looks a little bit more detailed. 0.2, 0.1, 0.010. So you can see how the less I put in there, the less influence it's going to have. But that's the whole purpose of curly brackets. You want to try different things, just use those, comma, put your input, and then end it with another curly bracket. You can use this for image weight, style weight, weird, chaos, and all those other parameters we looked at. Now I do want to talk about this feature on Midjourney, which is the remix feature. And essentially it allows you to combine different images without having to write a crazy specific prompt. So I tried it right here with this image. You can see that I got one image of a subject, one with a style that I want, and another one for the glass-like features in her hair. So it combined all three, and you can see that I chose specific reference styles for each of them. And my prompt is fairly simple. So a glass shiny portrait of a woman with high quality. And if I go over each one, you can see how the elements of my references are there, but they're very subtle and they come together nicely. So I upscaled some of them. You can see the shine from the chrome image we have here. And I'm just fine-tuning it as we go with the different actions here. So that's how you can do it. Let's try that ourselves. Let's go to explore. I'm going to just switch this to random so we get some new images. Let's choose a photo with a subject and use the character reference. I'm going to try to find some other stuff. Let's go with this butterfly, and I will use the style. Actually, let's go with the image itself. And as for the seed, I do want to go with maybe something written, something painted like this. Let's choose the reference. So that's the sref that we looked at, and it's using the seed from this image. So now let's just type something simple. Portrait of a woman in a vintage outfit with floral patterns. And then I do want some different results, so let's put -C100. Don't want to put any weird. So I'm just going to start with this, and then once we have our result, we can fine-tune it further. Alright, so we can see that it did combine that sketch style to our character. They're not too bad. And you can see that it definitely used the outfit from the first image that we use as our character style. The butterfly, it's sort of there, but it's very from the flower patterns. But it's not that intense. So I'm going to go with this one. Let's try remixing this. Let's subtle and remix it with the same stuff that we see here. I'm gonna submit that. Let's try perhaps upscaling it, getting some variations, and rerun it just so we have some options to look at. So this is our first set. This is with the remix. So before, after, we do have a bit of more detail here. It's definitely still cartoony like, which is perfect. The only thing that's changing is some of the flower elements in the back. This is with the variations, made it a little bit more realistic. We have this rerun, and it's a completely different style, but we can see that it's still the same character, the same red coat that we found in the explore page, this image, same hairdo and all of that. It's just in different styles, and this is with the upscaled version. So you can see how we used a bunch of images. My prompt wasn't too crazy. I didn't have to define the style, the sketch pattern, all of that. It figured it out itself. Now you can see how whenever we add a prompt to Midjourney, it really goes a long way to make sure that you get the best details for your images. But sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want it to be a little blurry, perhaps for a background you want to put behind your videos, or you just want to get a softer look on your images. That's when you can use the stop parameter, and I will be trying that with another, perhaps the same prompt that we had right here. I'm just going to not include these references. So let's first run it as a regular thing. I don't have any parameters on, just my aspect ratio. Now let's run this again, and then we're going to do -- stop, curly bracket, and this is going to be between 10 to 100. So I'm just going to do a couple of random numbers. So let's do 10, perhaps 20. Actually, let's start from 0. So 0, 10, 20, 50, 90, and 100. So 10, 20, 50, 90, 100. Make sure there's a space between these guys. And as you recall, curly brackets, I'm asking for different sets. So this will give me 5 different sets. Let's hit enter, and there we go. So without any of that stop parameter, this is what we got. Looking pretty good. Now we can see here, this is the stop 10, so it just stopped before fully generating that image. Looking very blurry. This is 20, a little bit more detail. 50, pretty soft. And then we got 90, so much more detailed. And then 100, it looks very realistic. So that's a stop parameter for you. If you want like a blurry portrait or a blurry background, this is the function you use. Now we can also separate concepts using the 2 columns. Essentially, when you add something like this, it sees it as one concept. So it's a portrait of a woman in one thing, but you can separate words using columns. And for example, if you were to use a fire truck, if you put it in one word, it's going to give you a fire truck. But if you separate fire and truck, you can actually work with how much truck there is over how much fire there is. So that's a pretty cool trick that you can do. So let's try doing that. Let's do a hyper realistic image of a fire truck without any sort of parameters. Let's run that. And I'm going to do the same thing with prompt, except now I'm going to do fire colon twice and then fire truck. So we're putting these here, and now I can decide the weight of each one. So maybe I want more fire. Let's do 4 and less truck. Run that once. While that's running, this is what we got. Fire truck, pretty standard. I'm gonna repeat this with maybe less fire, more truck. So 1 to 2. You can see here it gave me all fire, barely any truck. But I did include fire truck in my prompt. So you can see how that's different. Here I added for twice the amount of truck over the fire. And we can see that there's more truck and less fire. So you can do that with spaceship or any other thing that you can separate the 2 concepts. Say I wanted to do the spaceship, but I want the ship to be a lot less present than the space. So I just use these columns and I can get this to work. Now, one last thing that you could do is use the edit feature with any of the images that you make. You can also do it with images that you upload and use a little bit of AI. Say you upload a portrait of yourself, put the Eiffel Tower in the background. That's totally possible. I am going to use this image. Down here we had the option to rerun, and then we had the editor. Now the editor, there is this version and then there's the full editor. You cannot use the full editor unless you've generated a certain number of stuff in Midjourney, and you need to have the yearly subscription. So that's something to keep in mind. You got to use Midjourney a lot before you can go there, but this is open to anyone with an account. So what we have here is the erase, we have the restore, undo buttons, a reset, the size of your brush, scale, and you can change the aspect ratio. So say I want to go for something bigger like that, and then I can rerun the prompt. You can see on the right side we have edit prompt. Let's submit this, and maybe I want to scale her in a bit. And if I don't like any part of my image, I could just delete it. So say I don't like this particular flower. If I change my mind, restore, bring it back. But I'm just gonna try erasing this flower and a red flower in her hair. Okay, let's go back and look at what we get. So this is me expanding the background. You can see that it replicated everything. It looks good. And we got different variations of the flowers. This is my subject closer, again different things, and this is the red flower that we asked for. So that's how you can use the editor. Now one last thing that I do want to show you is that if you see a pattern you like, you can turn that into a tile. So let's go with pattern of flowers. I'm going to try to use this reference, so click and drag it. Make sure you don't choose subject because we don't want that. And what we're going to do is do -- tile. So that's going to take your design and just copy it and give you a pattern. So let's do that. I'm going to do stop -- stop 90. Same thing we did originally. And let's hit enter. You can change the size later or set it up here. But I'm just going to go with a 3 by 4 and see what we get. So it has the tile tag over here. Let's take a look. And there are my flowers. Looking pretty good. You can repeat this with anything else. One last thing is the exclusion function, which is when you take a prompt and you make sure that it does not include a certain thing. So for example, let's do the zoo in a storm with trees and the wind, something crazy, and animals running around. But I want to make sure that there is no cows in this. So let's do -- no cow. And let's run it like that. And then I'll do one with the weird parameter set really high so I can get a crazy looking thing. So again, -- no cow, and then -- weird to 3000, the full thing. Run that. And there is my crazy storm. I'm gonna try zooming in here. There should be no cows. There we go. It's mostly elephants and stuff. Here I'm not sure what kind of creature that is, but you get the idea. You can zoom it in if you want. I will show you that in a second. And this is with the weird parameter set to 3000. So some crazy stuff is going on here. And it's looking pretty good. Now say I want to focus on a small part of this. So let me see, like this area right here. Let me try to go to the weird ones. I'm going to zoom in right here. I don't want any of this. So let's go with 2 times. Have that run. And then we can also zoom in by, let's go 5 times. Run that as well. You can see that it zooms in. I'm going to try the pan feature as well on the, see which image that was. On this image. Pan it to the right, down, and left. So all the parameters, we're looking at it. So this is the zoom, zoomed in on that area. You can see that as I'm moving around, it only has that part and the rest of it is changed. And if you want to really zoom in, you can go into edit. Maybe go with something like that and just scale this up. Okay, that's as far as we can go. Let's submit, same prompt, and take a look. So this right here is pan. I'm not sure which direction, but it was one of them. I think we were moving right with this, to the left side that is. This is the image moved up, so it's changing the bottom part. Image moved down, image moved right. So that's how you can make it. And this one I believe is a zoom. We're zooming out and getting all these different stuff. We can also turn some things that we've made before into a pattern. Let's go -- tile, run that. And there's really no limitations on what you can do with Midjourney. And there is our pattern. There you go, my whole knowledge of Midjourney in just one video. I hope you found this useful and are ready to start creating. Check out skillademia.com to learn about the newest AI tools and learn new skills with our AI courses. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.